We have some more breaking news on this Good News Saturday, so grab those coffees, take a little sip, let's go. The Senate has passed the $1.9 trillion stimulus bill. Quicker than expected. We were expecting this like sometime late this evening to potentially early tomorrow morning, but the Senate has officially passed this just a few minutes ago. I am getting this video out as quickly as possible. I'm going to try and do this with no cuts, so excuse me if there's a little bit of ums and ahs and things like that because I didn't really have much time to prepare. So the Senate has passed this $1.9 trillion COVID relief bill. And talking about these things every single day, it doesn't even seem real when there's actually something that gets passed because it just feels like every single day we're just inching towards a solution, and it just always seems so far away for a bill to actually get passed and enacted. And it's only happened, 3 times in the last 12 months. So it's a rare occurrence, especially when I'm talking about this thing every single day, sometimes more than once a day, that it's actually here. As you can see, I'm excited about this because it's great whenever there's progress and things being done. So let's get into the details here. This thing was passed with no Republican support. So the final vote came out to 50 to 49. The reason it was 49 on the Republican side is because a Republican senator from Alaska had to fly home to attend a family funeral. So Republicans were down one senator. But of course, that didn't end up making a difference, as I had surmised in my earlier video today, where I'd said that it'll make it a little bit harder if Republicans are trying to block or make certain amendments, but I don't think it's going to change the course of history because we're split 50-50 and Vice President Harris will be the tiebreaker on all votes. So we saw the final vote, 50 to 49, 0 Republican support, exactly how we had expected. We really didn't see any of those moderate Republicans transitioning their votes and potentially voting for this. It just wasn't likely at all. The moderate Democrats were really on the edge of whether to vote this thing through or not, but they did. So this legislation, I'm going to cover a lot of what it includes, but just as the basics as to what it includes, that $1,400 stimulus check, $300 per week jobless benefits through the summer, the child tax credit, and much, much more. But before this goes to Biden to be signed completely into law, which I don't think there's going to be any hiccups there. He knows what to expect. And this is actually very similar to his $1.9 trillion proposal that he made just before the inauguration. I don't know the exact amount, but it's probably 98% similar to the proposal that he outlined. So of course he's going to be okay with it. But before it goes there, it's going to first have to go to the House because there are some changes from the House bill. They voted that in last weekend, sent it over to the Senate. Senate made some changes. They can't just say good to go. They have to actually send it back over to the House and vote on it, which there shouldn't be any hiccups there. There's a 3-vote margin of error that Democrats have in order to make this thing happen. And if they already approved the last bill, there's not a whole lot of difference here. Plus, Nancy Pelosi has already said before they even approved this vote in the Senate that there will be no hitches. She'll make sure that the bill goes through and then gets sent to the president. Now, because this happened this morning, the whole timeline might shift forward just a few days. It's not going to make that big of a difference as to when you actually receive your stimulus check, but the House could vote this thing in as soon as Monday and then have it on the president's desk maybe by the day after that. When that would mean stimulus checks for you. So let me just pull up the calendar here real quick. If, let's say, this thing gets voted in on Tuesday the 9th, which, they were still cutting it so close for those unemployment boosts, the expiration date on the 14th. There's literally would be, at the soonest, if this thing is completely passed in by the 9th, there'd be a 3 working day margin of error here. Like, procrastination, of course, but it's looking like that'll be completely done before the unemployment boost expire. But if this thing does get completely voted in by the 9th, the first people would expect to receive their electronic stimulus checks sometime the week of the 22nd, probably in the latter half of the week of the 22nd. We're looking at maybe the 25th, 26th, through the last week of March. And then for paper checks, we could expect those probably starting sometime the week of the 19th of April. If all things stay similar to the first round, we assume that the systems and processes in place at the IRS are going to be better than ever in order to send out these stimulus checks. So there's probably going to be a few hitches, and we'll very likely see more debit cards this time, kind of like we saw with the second round, where around 8 million people received debit cards the second time around. They seem to be focusing on that because you're more likely to spend that. You're less likely to transfer it into your bank. When you just have this card, it's like an extra step to transfer into your bank because they want that money to stimulate the economy. They want you to spend that money on services and businesses to help, churn that economic butt. Oh, that hand, excuse that hand moment. They want to help churn that economic butter. So this is, progress. It is definitely progress. So let's talk about what we can expect in this bill. So again, we have those $1,400 stimulus checks. The income limits have changed. So the limits for individuals to receive the full check, $75,000 per year, adjusted gross income. Couples, $150,000 per year, adjusted gross income. That hasn't changed. The cutoff has officially changed. So the cliff is very, very steep here. So for individuals, it's going to ramp down from $75,000 to $80,000. Anything above $80,000, you will not receive a stimulus check. And that's adjusted gross income. For joint filers, it'll be $150,000, ramped down to $160,000. I just elbowed my table, almost knocked off my my cup here. So we also have the unemployment boost that aligned up exactly with what we were saying earlier this morning, $300 per week benefits through the summer. And that is also in combination with the $10,200 tax reduction. So your first $10,200 in benefits will not be taxed with those unemployment boosts. Anything over that will be taxed regularly. We're also looking at the child tax credit of $3,000 for children between the ages of 6 and 17 for each child, $3,600 for each child that is under the age of 6. We still don't know if that's going to be a monthly payment or not. I know there was a big push for that, but we just have to remember the systems that would need to be built here are very difficult to build to send these payments out to millions of people. So we're just not sure if that's actually going to happen or not. We see $350 billion for state aid, exactly as they had outlined that from the very beginning. I'm surprised that that one wasn't changed at all, to be honest. $34 billion to expand the Affordable Care Act subsidies, $14 billion for vaccine distribution, and there's a lot of other vaccine-related funding things. I believe it comes out to about $80 billion in totality in funding under this bill for vaccine-related issues. On top of this, we have the nutrition assistance, which is 15% increase through September. So that's what we're at right now. It just extends the deadline there. Housing assistance, we have $19.1 billion to help cover rent and utilities, $10 billion for mortgage and utilities, and $5 billion to help combat homelessness. Now with the rent and mortgage assistance programs, I hope someone takes charge here and makes these programs easier to use, because we're still waiting on states and cities and localities and counties to work out these systems and get the programs online. Now, we're in the first week of March. Most of them are scheduled to have their programs open sometime mid-March. Whatever area you live in, search rent assistance followed by either your state or your city if you're in a big metro area, and see what comes up. Chances are your state has some kind of program that they're working on, because each state received funding here and they're about to receive a ton more funding, like double, and barely any of that funding from the last stimulus bill has been spent. So we have those tax credits. We have the earned income tax credits that are increased slightly. Schools and childcare, $130 billion to schools, $40 billion to colleges, $39 billion to childcare providers. Small business funding, we have another $7 billion to the Paycheck Protection Program. I don't believe as of right now the deadline for the Paycheck Protection Program has come out, but maybe there's a change that they snuck in the bill. Once we get the actual bill text, I will check that out and see if there are any changes there. I hope that change is made. I really do. If you haven't applied yet for the PPP, there's a link in the description. You want to apply as soon as possible, because as of right now, we have 3 weeks left with this program. We're also looking at $25 billion in grants for bars and restaurants, $15 billion for more EIDL loans. Let's see here. The minimum wage has been axed. That is no longer in this bill. That was the major change the Senate parliamentarians said from the get-go. Hey, we can't have this in the bill. So no matter what, it was going to be sent back to the House without the minimum wage, but we saw a few other changes there. And that's it for the major changes. It's a big progress day. The odds that this thing is completely passed through now, I don't know, 99.5%, the odds are there. So, I mean, there's going to be a third stimulus check. I would very confidently say that. So thank you for tuning in to this exciting progress update. Make sure you like and subscribe, do all the things, and have a profitable day. You're going to have a $1,400 day. Take it easy.